Okay. So here are our guests for this week. We figured after last night's giant fart, or as I'd call a turd sandwich, because it was literally two pieces of bread in the form of the goals, and then just the meat in the middle, which was a meat pie. Um, we had to get our buddies from Talking Some Sens over here. So we got Jacob. I'm gonna do some really butchered white version of these very French names. We got Jacob Laviere and Alex Langlois or Langlois,
There you go.
whatever one it was.
Close enough.
So
Hey
now
man,
that you know,
I let Matt do this because I'm terrible at French. I just
so
horrible at it for the years I had to do it in school. I just don't think it's taught very well, but it's just me.
that's fair. So thank you both for coming on to discuss this horrific event that happened. Well, horrific for us, not horrific for you. And now that I have shown you my very limited and distant grade 9 French chops, first reactions of what went through your minds. I guess we'll start from the second period onward because I'm sure the first period was just death.
In my honest opinion, what the hell happened?
You're asking, are you asking me or telling me?
I'm asking you, what the hell happened?
My brief and precise analysis of what happened is the Toronto Maple Leafs just pooped themselves. They filled their diapers.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's not even that Toronto got just shot the bed. I think it's Ottawa rallied around the deficit. They were sick and tired of losing, so they finally just gave it their all, and this is what happened. I don't think Toronto was expecting it. Honestly, don't. I think it's just Ottawa somehow woke up and shit happened.
I see it as like Ottawa's just like a desperate hockey team right now, just like desperate for some win. So they just like, it's the first game of 3 and they wanted to make a statement coming out of the game. They wanted to finish strong at the very least. So they gave them everything they had. And I just don't think the Leafs were expecting that coming into the third period.
Gentlemen, I have a theory. If you look at the Ottawa Senators' wins on the year, they only have 4.
Two back to back.
2, 4, yes, 2 back-to-back recently. But worth noting, all 4 of those victories have come over the top 3 teams in the North Division. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, are they only going to try against these 3 teams?
I don't think
it's like, and when it's like Vancouver and Calgary, they're just going to be, or Edmonton, they'll be like, it's okay.
I don't think it's that. I think it's that Ottawa's obviously not the best team in the North Division. They're not the best team in the NHL. But I think
Clearly.
that honestly, I think that Toronto underestimated them. If Ottawa's given some space and some time, they can make stuff happen. Like, I'm not saying that we've got Makar McDavid. We don't have Austin Matthews. We don't have superstars yet. We've got some great players who can move the puck, and if given chances, they can capitalize. And I think that's what happened last night. I think that Toronto got a little tired and gave up a little bit. They thought they had it in the bag 5-1. I guess 5-1's a new 4-1. That's what I gotta say.
No, it's not the new 4-1. There, every single lead is the new 4-1.
Pretty much.
So Alex, you look like you want to dive in here. It looks like you're looking at your chop just to get some thoughts in.
Yeah, I mean,
disagree with your partner.
Any chance I get to say something about the Sens beating the Leafs, I'll jump in. But sorry, but yeah,
we deserve it.
That game, the second period, I was like, I was zoned out by the second period. I was kind of on my chair scrolling through my fantasy hockey team, kind of hoping they had a better night than the Sens. And then girlfriend went to bed, and the last thing she said to me before she went to bed is, "Your team sucks," and went to bed. And then 11:30 when she woke up to go to the washroom, I was like, guess what? My team won. So that's pretty much how the night went and how I reacted to that.
So a little bit of a backstory behind this. I don't know if Joey knows this. I think the group chat does. So I have a buddy of mine that I go to college with who is a Sens fan. He grew up in the Kingston area. And he would always try and chirp me about how the Sens are good. More so, I wrote, I don't think it was published, but I had a piece which was basically like I don't even know what it would be classified as. It was like the best like moves. Like I would grade every Canadian team off division, and I put like the Sens at like a B. He got mad at me. He's like, they should at least be an A-, and I'm like, I went back like a few weeks ago. I'm like, A-, huh? Like, are you sure? Are you sure? So I need to look at the timestamp for this one. I sent him a DM around, I believe.
So what you're saying is that this is all your fault.
Yes. So at 8:37 last night, which was, I believe, it was midway through the second period, I sent him a DM saying, "My condolences to your hockey team." And
Oh,
within
God.
the next couple of within the next hour, I royally basically had him shit down my throat, and it was not fun. Um, I don't know what to. I can't fathom what happened.
I think like what it was is the Senators finished that second period strong with Nick Paul scoring with, what was it, 9 seconds left.
Something like that, yeah.
And like you don't, especially for the Leafs, you don't want to end a period like that, being especially when you're up. You don't want them to go into the dressing room feeling good about themselves, which I think was like the big thing. Like, if that goal doesn't happen, I don't think the Sens are coming back. I think they're just like defeated going into the locker room. They don't have that jolt of energy in going into the locker room. So like, yeah, that's what it is. And like, honestly, like, credit to the Sens, they're never going to be like an easy team, especially against the Leafs. Like, historically, they play the Leafs pretty well, no matter where they are in the standings. And you're always going to be more amped up for those rivalry games, like the Battle of Ontario. So yeah, like that's just my takeaway from it. I'm more concerned about how the Leafs come out the next 2 games than this game, because if this is just like a one-off, it's fine. Because especially this season, with how good the Leafs have been at like holding leads for the most part, which is like the thing that really impressed me, like through the first 13 games of the year. But yeah, I don't know. This is when you just burn the tape and just go at it again.
This to me shows that this to me, and I've kind of thought about this over the last like less than 24 hours, because I didn't start processing this until obviously like 9 p.m. going onward. But every team in the North Division's pretty shit. I don't mean to sound like a pessimist, but like, Leafs are still leafing. The Habs are far from perfect.
Vancouver's a nightmare.
Vancouver is very, very garbage. The Sens were expected to be not as garbage as they are, but you get what the drift is. Edmonton is a 2-man show that is literally just throwing everything with like super glue at the wall and like praying that it sticks. And then Winnipeg is the one that's surprisingly doing the most well, I would say. But like, you know, I still can't even call them good, because like there's still too many holes.
Connor Hellebuck makes them look a lot better than they
Yeah,
are.
if you want me to add in, like I think to your analysis, the only team in the North Division who's really exceeded expectations were the Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg Jets has that offense. They have Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler. They had Patrick Laine, who they traded for Pierre Dubois. They have that offense. Nick Ehlers, Kyle Connor. They have those guys. They have a decent depth. Their goaltending is great. Their defense has been abysmal. Like they lost their entire right side of the decor last year, and they're slowly building their way back up. But I think that Winnipeg, honestly, they had their best chance of winning the cup when they had that decor. Now either they've got to rebuild that decor somehow, or shake things up. In my opinion, it's at that time for the Winnipeg Jets for me that they have to do something, or they're never going to win.
The thing with Winnipeg is just like the small market idea, just because like it's really just like no one really wants to play in Winnipeg, which like I get it. Like if you told me like I could play pro hockey but I had to go to Manitoba, like it's nothing against Manitoba. It's a great province with great sites and whatnot. It's just too friggin' cold, man.
If you guys have ever seen me on Twitter, I have a conspiracy theory that Winnipeg doesn't even exist. So there you go. That's just.
I mean, I'm not as controversial as my co-host here. But again, like going back to like to kind of like restating what Jake just said, like the north of it, there's so many holes, and like, okay, Montreal, everyone expected to be like this juggernaut. They're never gonna lose any games, run away with the division, and that's what they all thought.
Then they realized, oh, they just played Vancouver a lot. And like Joey said, Vancouver is, excuse me, Vancouver is really, 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 really bad. And I think what it really comes down to is when you play a bad team over and I think this kind of shows how weird the divisions are and how bad teams that are, you know, were bad last year could make a change this year. It's kind of like how baseball was. If Joey wants to chime in on that, like how the Miami Marlins, who were like the worst team in baseball 2 years ago, went to the playoffs because why not? So like, I feel like just this kind of re-emphasizes the NHL is full of frauds. Like there goes without saying.
Oh, there's just way too much parity in the NHL, a lot more than all the other sports leagues. But anyways, I want to get back on topic. Kind of drifted away about the Leafs and Sens games. What do you Sens fans expect for the next two games? Like, there's no way you're expecting another collapse from the Leafs again.
I don't think that, like, I'll go back to my theory that I think the Leafs sort of underestimated the Senators. I think that with that last game, they're going to estimate, like, not, wow, I sound like Michael Scott there. I think they're going to finally, like, evaluate the Senators as better than they thought they were. Like, the Senators are not a great team yet. It's a transition year. But I think that the Leafs are going to start taking the Sens a bit more seriously because the Senators always seem to take it up a notch in those crucial divisional, obviously divisional this year, but like those crucial Battle of Ontario games. I think Senators always take it up a notch. And I think that Toronto's going to want to be ready for that. I expect a lot more offense from Toronto, but I honestly expect their defense to try to contribute to the offense and kind of be a little shaky. That's how I evaluate the Toronto Maple Leafs in this next little stretch. I've noticed that the Toronto Maple Leafs defense, when it's a little bit of when they're not doing so well defensively, they want to try to contribute in moving the puck instead of focusing on that deep play. And I think that's what Ottawa wants to capitalize on if they have a chance at all at this 3-game stretch. Well, now 2 games left. But yeah, I think that the Senators are gonna keep throwing animosity at the Leafs, and we'll see if the Leafs can keep up. Well, like physically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like the Senators are hot garbage. There's no question about that. But they're definitely better than the way they started. Like the team that we seen last night with more of the Sens that we kind of expected going into this season. Not that they're going to win every game, but they at least put up a fight instead of getting blown out like 8-1, 9-1, or whatever the scores were the last couple of games. But I expect the Leafs to bounce back in the next one. I think the Leafs are just going to come out hard and just hammer the Sens. It's weird for me saying that because I'm normally the optimistic Sens fan, but the Leafs, I think this loss last night kind of woke the Leafs up a little bit, and kind of the first animosity or kind of wall they kind of hit, and now they're like, you know what, we need to bounce back and show that we're real contenders. So they're going to come out firing on all cylinders for sure.
Yeah. The thing that I find, sorry, Matt, to cut you off, but the thing that I find different about this year's team than last year's team is like now we have more of a veteran presence in the room. Like when you have like guys like Joe Thornton in there and like Zach Bogosian, like, okay, Zach Bogosian had an awful game last night, but he knows what it's like to be on a winning team. And I'm sure Tampa Bay had losses like that last year too. And like they would always come right back to them, even though they won the Stanley Cup. Like games like that just happen. And to me, what's more telling is not like losing those games, but how you bounce back from them. And having guys like Jumbo in the locker room, like they're not going to let them come out flat. They're not going to let them the guys come out flat like tomorrow night or even on Thursday night as well. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. I want to see the Leafs jump back and just you guys won't like this, but just absolutely pummel the Senators.
I think honestly, like you mentioned some veteran guys. I think Zach Bogosian is a great example of what you want out of a veteran. Like I know he's not the greatest player, but a veteran player on a great team can do wonders. If you look at Cedric Paquette in Ottawa, he played on a winning team in Tampa Bay. He was good in Tampa Bay, but that's good. Tampa Bay had a great team and only needed him to play 9 or 10 minutes a night. But once you throw him in a team like Ottawa, who needed him to play in a bigger role, you expose his weaknesses. And that's what happened with Cedric Paquette. And that's what's going to happen with Zach Bogosian, in my opinion. I think that if Zach Bogosian plays in a similar role that he played in Tampa Bay, he's going to flourish in Toronto. But I think It all depends on his ice time. It all depends on his ice time in a role.
To me, what this loss kind of reminds me of a little bit. I don't know if Joey remembers this or not, or if any Leaf fans remember this. But there was a game last year. It was around this time, ironically, around middle of February. The Leafs went to Pittsburgh to play the first half of a home and away back-to-back against Pittsburgh. And I mean, obviously, that one was not a collapse. That one was just a completely burn the tape game. Wash didn't show up, poor showing, and the next game they come home and everyone expects them to continue to flounder, and then they come and show one of their strongest performances probably of the last 3 years against, at that point, the one of the best teams in the NHL, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Obviously, they're not playing Pittsburgh now. They're playing a lot of the same opponents. I feel like, to me, another game that kind of reminds me, and this is one that's even more recent, is the Columbus series, because Game 3, everyone remembers the Leafs, you know, were up 3-0, evaporated pretty quickly, and they lose an OT. Then the next game, they somehow pull the hand of God out of their little hockey butts and win the game somehow. We don't talk about Game 5 after that. But I feel like this is one of those things where, and I'll run the question because I'm genuinely curious if they do it right after. But I feel like this is going to be one of those, times where they're going to definitely take 1, 2. If they lose 2 of 3, then all eyes are going to be like, okay, what is on this team? And I want to throw this question to the floor here because I'm personally thinking about it. Did this team just say screw it and play Hutch tomorrow night or whatever this episode goes up, which I'm assuming is Wednesday, so like the night when this episode goes up?
I honestly am not sure. I think Hutchinson is not as good as I wanted him to be. A couple of years ago, I was always rooting for Michael Hutchinson to get a shot at the NHL. When he finally did, he played like dog shit. And I admit I was wrong on Hutchinson. I don't know. He's had a couple good games here and there, but I don't know if he's that guy for Toronto. As much as you can blame that third period on Frederik Andersen, because you don't allow 4 goals in one period. I think he was honestly a little left to dry that the third period. I don't think it's completely his to be blamed on.
I mean,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's a tough one. I think you go back with Anderson, kind of show, give him that you have, faith in him that he'll come back and play a stellar game, and then maybe go Hutchinson in the third game on the back to back there. But I think you would go back to Anderson, but that's just what I would personally do.
If only you had Aaron Dell, eh?
Let's not talk about that, please. For me, it's more about Jack Campbell, but whatever. He'll be back in like next week, I think is the timeline. So you guys just miss him. You guys are lucky. But yeah, like I think you put Freddie back out just because you want to get his confidence back up. Like I don't know where it's at right now. Like he was playing pretty well for like the last like few weeks before this game. So you just want to put him back out there and make sure that like everything's good and like that. Because like at the end of the day, that's like the most important thing is the success of your starting goalie if you want to be a winning team. So I think you put him back out there just to just give him another shot. I'm sure he's hungry for it. I'm sure he wasn't impressed with his game last night either, and he just wants to get right back out there and show everyone what he's got. So yeah, that's how I see it.
Does Freddie Andersen just kind of shit the bed against the Sens, it feels like? Because I feel like I know he's had some really good games against Ottawa, but like more games than not when they played the Sens, I feel like he doesn't really show up. And like, don't get me wrong, he was not the reason why they lost. I mean, he let in a couple really ones, but like
at least you don't have Marcus Hogberg.
Yeah, that is very.
He made some big saves last.
I think it's one of those things where like you expect too much of your goalie, but also you need to think like your defense needs to be better and kind of like re-emphasizing what Jake said about how the Leafs defense needs to be a lot tighter. Looking at this defense right now, I really did not like that second pair. But I mean, again, it's one of those things where the ones who really stood up, especially like on the forward core, like that second line of Tavares, Nylander, and Mikheyev, they need to come out and show a better performance than they did the on the game last night.
So yeah, I think we could move on now to like, where do you guys think this game would rank in the whole Battle of Ontario rivalry? With all the great games that these teams have had throughout the years, like where would you rank this one?
Given I'm a younger Sens fan, I'm only 18 years old. I'm honestly gonna pass this one off to Alex because he's a bit older than I am. But I really, really like that. Like, out of all the games I watched, that was probably my favorite one.
I appreciate the modest than you, but yeah, it's something. The era where the early 2004, the early 2000s, 2000 to 2007, those are some wicked Battle of Ontario. So this one definitely ranks, but I don't know if it'd be the top five. There were some good playoff battles. It always seemed like the Leafs, when the Sens always had a really good season, they ran into the Leafs in the playoffs and they always went to Game 7 or something like that. So I think it ranks. I think it just misses the top 5 for me.
What is it? 0-4 the Sens are against the Leafs in the playoffs.
Yeah, something like that. The little Liam always just let us down there. But.
Yeah, that's actually one of my very first hockey memories, is watching one of those Battle of Ontario's. That Patrick Lalime goal, the one that snuck through his legs. I believe it was a Joe Nieuwendyk slap shot from the half wall that snuck through. That's like one of my first hockey memories. What year was that? I believe that was 2004.
That was 2004.
That was 2000. Yeah,
Last
so I was 6 years
time we
old.
won a playoff series. Going great.
That
It's
gives me
going great.
nightmares still.
Oh, I'm numb to it. It's fine.
Anyways, one of my favorite Battle of Ontario memories is, I actually don't remember this live. I was probably too young, but I've seen the highlight of it a dozen times, is Darcy Tucker just taking on the entire Senators bench that one time. I can't remember if that was a playoff game or not, but I just remember the intensity and the Battle of Ontario at that time was just it was just another level. I can't even describe it. It was just the animosity these two teams had towards each other was real. Like, they did not like each other.
Yeah, I remember going to a couple games in Ottawa, and I think one time we were coming out of the parking lot and there was actually someone throwing rocks. I think it was a Sens fan throwing rocks at a Leafs fan's car, like that. But it got heated in the ring because there was always fights and stuff. The rivalry was wild, and this game kind of gave me some old flashbacks to that. But it's nice to see that it's a bit more competitive. Where before Ottawa won, always doing the stomping on the Leafs back when they were doing the rebuild. Now it seems like it's going to be the one that's going to lead the way, but it's going to be exciting to see them get back to the classic Battle of Ontario.
It's kind of what I like. I remember 5-6 years ago when the Leafs were unwatchably bad. They would still play spoiler, and this is when Ottawa was having those miracle playoff runs. Those were the games that were the most. 2014 I thought had some really good ones, especially when both teams were technically on the fringe of being good, but then ultimately both of them whiffing. I think the Sens finished with a better record. I can't remember. Very old. I think, to be completely honest with you, this, I don't know how realistic. This kind of reminds me of a more tame version of Yankees Red Sox. I mean, obviously Yankees Red Sox is a lot more tame nowadays, but back in obviously 80s, 90s, 2000s, if you're a Boston fan walking into Yankee Stadium, you'd get your jersey ripped off and probably punched in the face. And then if you're in Boston, probably, but worse because it's Boston. Yes, one final question that I have before we kind of wrap it up. How does it feel to beat the Bruins in the playoffs? Because I want to know. I really want to know. I'm genuinely curious. I don't know what that team from 17 to 18 was, but can't we just flip them?
Wait, you're allowed to beat the Bruins in the playoffs? I thought it was in the CBA that you can't.
No. The CBA is only that only every team in the Eastern Conference, which is, well, two-thirds of the Eastern Conference is allowed to beat them.
Okay.
And,
Okay. Just
then
making
before
sure.
the Sens and the Habs. But of course the Leafs don't get that. I don't know. I guess because Boston sports fans have such a long play. Like it's only been like what 4 years since they last won a. Like I can't even 4 years. Like
11.
How do they even support the team anymore? 4 years.
I mean,
Come on.
well, I'm talking about like Boston sports in general, which was like 2018.
No, the Patriots last one
It's
in
been-
2019. So yeah, less than that. 2
Okay,
years.
wait. Random question, and then we drop you guys' socials. This is the 10-year anniversary of the Bruins winning the Stanley. Where were you in the Vancouver riots happened?
Oh, I was probably asleep.
I was in grade 7. I
Yeah,
remember
I was in grade 4.
I remember
I
it
was
was the
Three when that happened. Goodness gracious.
I was in grade 10, so I was probably doing homework or studying for.
Yeah.
I
something along those
remember
lines.
like I was very naive and young at the time, and like I was just like, I hope a Canadian wins, and then I wake up and there's like fires in the streets of downtown Vancouver.
I remember
like,
it was the talk of all my friends like that next morning. They were like just laughing at Vancouver.
my favorite meme that I saw was a picture of the Eagles celebrating their Super Bowl win, and then the Vancouver 2011 post Game 7 riot, and it was like, which one is the celebration and which one is the riot?
Philly
And
fans.
everyone, the first comment I saw was yes. So that just goes to show. I guess that's the closest thing we're ever gonna see to like a crazy. I don't think it would happen if it was in like Toronto, Ottawa, or Montreal.
Montreal.
I mean, Montreal just had some crazy riots. I think the
Montreal, they like to riot there. They rioted one year because a Metallica concert got canceled.
I was just about to talk about that Metallica GNR dual concert where James Hetfield fire, and they had to end their set prematurely, and of course that led to Guns N' Roses being like, "Screw this! I don't want to go ahead and play second fiddle to lighting myself on fire." Like, how do you top that? Seriously.
This is probably everything I just said on this podcast, but back in those Vancouver riots, I was God's gift to hockey.
Yeah, I think like everyone's like, "Oh, this is so fun," and then you're just like, "Yeah, this guy's a piece of shit."
Yeah, pretty
This is
much.
back when like everyone hated Ryan Kessler. It was just like more of half hated him, half liked him, and then everyone was just like, "Yeah, Ryan Kessler's really shit." But yeah, we're gonna wrap up here. We're probably gonna do this again because there's 2 more games to go through and many more. Would you like to plug our friends' Twitters?
Sure. Sure. So yeah, you can follow. Actually, I'll let them do it themselves. They can
Oh yeah, do it yourself.
advertise themselves better than I can.
You can find me on Twitter at Jacob Revere. You can find Alex at Alex Langlois 15. You can find our show at Some Sens on Twitter.
All right, there you go. So yeah. Give our friends a follow for some good takes, and thanks for coming on, guys. We'll do this again before the Canadian division wraps up.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it
Take
was a
care.
great time. Love talking hockey with you guys.
All right, yeah, do this again.